Support from friends, family, professionals, and community organizations is particularly important to individuals with special needs and the families that care for them. EP's annual Family and Community issue is filled with information and personal stories that are intended to help improve the lives of those with special needs and those who care for them. Sign up and read the issue for free at www.epmagazine.com.
Suicide is preventable, and each of us has a role to play in suicide prevention.
Suicide is complex. There is no single cause.
And it's not always a mental health issue. It could be loss of a job or home, financial or relationship issues, pain, or leaving the military.
Suicide does not discriminate. It affects all ages, races, and genders, veterans or not.
If you know a veteran who is struggling, connect with them. Let them know help is available.
There is quick and easy access to services in times of crisis.
Dial 988, then press 1. Talking about it is okay.
Don't keep it inside. Don't be ashamed. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubazoo Network. You can find out more on hubazoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran Mark Holmes of Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, and my supporters, all veteran-owned businesses, Bone Frog Warrior, Caisson Shaving Company, Black Cat Designs, and Savage American Woodwork. And I'm talking to another Marine. I'm learning, yes, which I love. I'm learning about, the body and how it works. So I am just fully Oscar Mike right now with Johnny Moody. Johnny is a Marine Corps veteran and does some amazing things. Johnny, welcome. Welcome to Oscar Mike Radio.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate it. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Semper Fi, brother, Semper Fi. So I got connected with you, and you do some amazing stuff with this, optimal bio BHRT. We're going to learn all about that. But before we do that, I'm always interested in where my fellow Marine brothers come from, and sisters, by the way. So give us a little background about your Marine Corps history and who Johnny is.
Yeah, so I graduated high school in '94. Went to try to play a little college football. Washed out really quick, and needed some money for school. And so I started doing a little research. Essentially, went and talked to the Marine recruiters and signed up as an 0311 infantryman in 1996. And so I was in Parasol in '96. Kind of a weird time to be in, 96 to 2000, Kosovo, Croatia, those kinds of things, Somalia, but nothing huge, right? Essentially, got out of the Marine Corps and became a firefighter for the city of Asheville, where I'm from in North Carolina.
No kidding. No kidding. And how was that transition from, so you go from being an infantry to being a firefighter? That's one thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the fire service, you do have a rank structure, right? And so I felt a little bit more comfortable that way. But essentially what happened is I got out of the Marine Corps. I was going back to school. And I always thought about medicine. Like I always thought about something in medicine. I just really am interested in it. So I was in college, and a friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, Devil Dog," former Marine, was like, "Hey, you ever thought about being a fireman?" And I said, "No, not really." He's like, "Well, we do EMT stuff. We do fire, control service. We do high angle rescue. There's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great training." So I think you'd be a good fit. And so out of about 300 applicants, they only hired 10. And so I thought, well, what the hey, I'll try. And so I was fortunate enough to get on there. And that's where I got really interested in medicine first. And so, not to make a really long story even longer, but essentially, I was part of a team that got a full cardiac save. And so we actually saved a cardiac arrest patient, which is very rare. And that's when I said, hey, I want to further my career in medicine. And so one of the best ways to do that, start out, go to nursing. And so got into nursing school, and essentially the nursing school said, you can't still be a fireman and be a nurse. You have to go to school the full time. We're not going to allow you to stay and work. And so my chief was awesome enough to let me go and then hire me back later. But essentially, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and was in nursing school there. So I graduated from the Mercy School of Nursing in Charlotte, and then went back and got my family nurse practitioner, which is a master's degree. And so I can prescribe medications, do pretty much everything a doctor can do, except I still have to work for a doctor, which is Dr. Gregory Brandon at Optimal Bio right now.
So that must have been a really interesting time, because you're really taking some leaps of faith here, Johnny. I mean, you're having to quit firefighting, which you knew and were comfortable with, to do nursing, not really knowing what's going to happen next. I mean, that's really trusting in yourself, right?
Yeah, it was. I had some, just like every other, veteran, regardless of Marine, whatever, but had some times where I was unsure of myself, had some problems with anxiety and things of that nature. Just, am I smart enough, right? You go from being 0311 to, are you smart enough to get your master's degree in pharmacology and biostatistics and biochemistry, right? So, but it's just a lot of hard work. The Marine Corps, I think, thank God that I was a Marine, that I have that work ethic. And so you just work harder.
And you work smarter. You have to be what you are now. So as I understand it, though, you started in firefighting, EMT, you got to nursing, you got to be a nurse practitioner, and then you got into, I'm going to look to see if I say this right, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Now, when I first read this, I got to tell you, John, when I first read those 4 words, I'm like, I don't care what I have to do. I want to talk to this guy, because it sounded like science fiction. Like, I'd never heard this before. And I'm like, how does this work?
Right.
How does this heal somebody, and how is this different? So and I'm an Air Wing Marine, so you got a little help there.
You're smart.
Well, they say I'm smart. They say I'm smart. I don't know, but how does that? Let's just start with the beginning. What is bioidentical hormone replacement therapy? Let's just start there.
Sure, great question. So that's what makes hormone replacement therapy different than what we do. Bioidentical means it's the exact same molecule as the human molecule in your body. So for men, testosterone, right? For women, testosterone, estradiol, which is estrogen, and progesterone. So bioidentical means it's the exact same molecule that your body makes already. So what does that mean? So when you utilize bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, your body doesn't go, quote unquote, haywire when it's exposed to it. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. So for example, testosterone, that's bioidentical human hormone, it binds to the testosterone receptor and just innervates that particular action potential. And so what's the biggest thing that testosterone does? It does a lot of things for cognitive clarity, muscle tissue growth, just tons of things. Has 400 and something functions in the body, but its main physiological function when you turn it on is it makes proteins. So you're making more protein synthesis, more proteins. Everything in your body is made out of proteins. Hair, skin, and nails, connective tissue, cardiac tissue, brain, everything is optimized. And so you age much more gracefully. And that's just testosterone itself. So bioidentical versus a synthetically made testosterone, which testosterone, most in the United States that's synthetically made is testosterone cypionate. And so it's attached to an ester oil. So that changes the molecular structure a little bit. And so that subtle change with the extra methyl group at the end of it, when it binds to that receptor site, it can turn too many things on. And so you have a risk of clots. You have a risk for other things to go awry. And so bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is exactly what your body makes. And so the side effects are much less.
So educate me here. If it's identical, is it coming from me, or is it just a molecule that's sourced somewhere else?
So the molecule is sourced from soy powder and yam powder. So
Yeah.
testosterone, yeah, right. So when we make or synthesize testosterone in our bodies, the building block is cholesterol. And so cholesterol goes through a chemical process, and the end product is testosterone. Soy and yam powder has that backbone that looks almost identical already. So what they do is they just compress that a little bit, and it turns into exactly testosterone.
This is science fiction, John. This is science fiction.
It's science fact, Travis.
I love it.
It is.
So what got you connected with doing this kind of therapy?
Yeah, man, so blessed. So essentially, I got out of the fire service and I was a family nurse practitioner. So I went into emergency medicine first, did that for a while, urgent care, primary care, all these kind of traditional medicine hats, if you will. And the more research I did, it's more managing band-aids, just giving band-aids for a problem. Say, for example, you have hypertension, say, for example, high blood pressure, right?
Okay.
And so we start you on a synthetic drug, a diuretic synthetic drug like HCTZ. It just makes you pee more. So yeah, you're going to have lower blood pressure, but you're going to be dehydrated, right? Beta blocker blocks this receptor in your heart so that your heart can't beat fast enough. So that lowers your blood pressure, of course. But if a bear tries to chase you, or if something goes awry, you might pass out because your heart rate can't keep up with what you're trying to do. So the more research I did on that stuff, I just didn't agree with a lot of it. And so essentially, there's times when you need that. If your blood pressure is 200 over 150 exactly, you may need that, right? But these your blood pressure is a little bit high, let's go ahead and start you on this medication. It's just a Band-Aid. Are you moving your body? Are you drinking plenty of water? Are you eating whole foods? Are you doing everything you should be doing first prior to starting the synthetic drug? And so then I would see patients, female patients in particular, who would have fatigue, anxiety, all these things are going awry. And I start talking to them, and I do these workups on them to make sure they don't have cancer or any kind of underlying serious pathology, and they didn't, but they would have a hormone imbalance. And so I used to work for a bigger box company that was traditional medicine. And so I'm a nurse practitioner, so I have to work for a doctor in the state of North Carolina. And so my supervisor position was like, okay, you have a hormonal imbalance, just send them to an endocrinologist and let them sort it out. And so the thing is with that, they would go to endocrinology, they'd come back and they'd be on synthetic progestins, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. Because I don't know what that is.
But that's what caused breast cancer.
What?
Synthetic progestins. And so the FDA is still approving these, and they're still being prescribed when it's a known fact that that's what caused breast cancer. And so I can talk about that in detail if you need me to right now. But essentially, for women, they need testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone to keep balanced. First part of their phase, they need more testosterone, estrogen. Second part of their phase, they need more progesterone. Okay. Synthetic progestin has that different molecular structure. It's not the body's molecule. So what it does is it turns on too many receptors in the body. So it turns on receptors that it shouldn't in the breast, which causes breast cancer. And it turns on the receptors in the uterus that it shouldn't. So it turns on uterine cancers and things of that nature. So bioidentical progesterone is made out of wild yam powder. And it's the exact same molecule that your body makes. So what does it do? For women, it helps them sleep, reduces anxiety, helps them lose weight. It's remarkable. It also helps with brain health. It helps stimulate what's called the myelin sheath growth, which is the sheath that keeps your brain protective and healthy.
So science fact, not science fiction. We're talking about science fact here. I love that, by the way. I got to remember that one. Science fact. Love it, Johnny. My immediate thought is, wait a minute. We have women, like October's Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of women are impacted daily by this, condition. But it sounds like it's possible that a lot of this is from the medical, practitioners prescribing them stuff that gives or leads them to this condition.
Yeah, there's a lot of integers in that equation, right? I mean,
Right, right.
genetics play a big factor in that. If you have a family history of breast cancer and you have what's called the BRCA gene, then you're more likely to have those problems. But we know how to negotiate or navigate around that safely um, with a few supplements. So what we would do is give that patient, if they have the BRCA gene, we'll just say, "Hey, mom had breast cancer. I'm worried about this, but I'm in menopause. I need estrogen," right? So we give them bioidentical estrogen, exactly what their body makes, so it doesn't turn on those things in the breast that it shouldn't. And then two, we use what's called diindolylmethane, DIM, DIM. All that is broccoli, cruciferous vegetables. You eat a bunch of broccoli and cruciferous vegetables, it breaks down into your stomach and into your gut, turns into diindolylmethane, right? You eat a bunch of broccoli, you get gassy methane gas, right?
Yeah, yes, I
That
do.
but what that does is it keeps away the bad estrogens and keeps the good estrogens and helps downregulate that bad receptor. And so it's actually cancer protective.
Now, John, what's going through your mind? Let's just say you get a patient and they tell you about their problems. And for me, I hate going to the doctor. I mean, I despise it. I had an 8-year stretch. I had an 8-year stretch. I was pretty proud of that until the nurse. I got to tell you, the nurse practitioner got a hold of me after 8 years. Was not smiling like you were. She was mad. She was absolutely enraged. But that being said, is you get this person in this condition at Optimal Bio, and you start working with them. It sounds like you can take the data you get from that patient and the knowledge you have and almost customize a crafted solution for them that impacts their health. How long does it take for your treatment protocol to have an effect on their life?
Yeah, almost within the first week. I mean, and most patients say this is life changing for them because essentially they've been, in menopause. We'll say a menopausal woman been in menopause for years and they've felt fatigue, brain fog, all these, symptoms. And then we give them what their body's lacking. That's all we do is give them the exact same human molecule that they're lacking. We give that to them. They feel great. And so for women, hot flashes is one of the biggest things that they get with menopause. Those go away within the first 4 or 5 days, sometimes within the first 48 hours. And it's just amazing.
Not to be glib, John.
Okay.
Can I call you John?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, nice.
If I can call you sir.
You got me there. You got me. Fair, done. Fair enough. How many marriages have you saved because you got?
Man.
I mean, I'm just saying because I got some buddies of mine that are dealing with this exact same thing, and
Yeah.
I mean that husband is love quotient is being stretched and emptied every day. It's
Yeah.
gotta help the marriage out a lot.
Yeah, I mean that intimacy is important, right? And so, you get a hug from someone, you start releasing dopamine, right? But these hormones, testosterone gives you the drive, gives you motivation to do lots of things, gives you the energy to do lots of things, but it also gives you libido increase. And
Well,
so that
forget
helps.
all that. It's just the guy, my buddy comes home and the woman that he swore that he'd love her, he'd take a bullet for her, has changed in ways that he never, there was no instruction manual for this, John, no instruction manual at all. All of a sudden, they're like reconnected with each other in a way outside the bedroom, outside of everything. It's like he got his wife back. It's got to be like that.
Yeah, we're giving you the hormones that you had when you're, 17 to 25. I mean, so that's how you feel.
That's amazing. I mean, if for nothing else, you're both in a different place. You're both in a different place. So as you've gone through and learned about, I just got to make sure we say this right, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I'm sorry, it's a mouthful.
It is.
As you've worked in this field, what have you discovered about the human body that most people don't know?
Well, everyone's completely different. Everyone's
Yeah.
body chemistry is completely different. So we titrate, our dosing for testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone for every single person. For example, patient A may metabolize things tremendously different than someone else, and so we titrate that every time. And so we do labs when they first come in. We check them at 4 weeks for their 4-week follow-up. And so we look at that clinical data, that tangible data, and then we also always ask them, how do you feel? So, for you, Travis, we'll say, you're at 900, your testosterone got you to 900. How do you feel? Well, I feel amazing. Okay. Well, Mr. Smith comes in, he's 900. How do you feel, Mr. Smith? Well, I don't feel much different. Okay. Well, maybe Mr. Smith needs to be 1,000 or 1,100. So optimal levels for testosterone for men are 900 to 1,400. That's where we were in the 1940s prior to World War II. And all the pesticides, preservatives, and plastics that are in our environment now, plus our food supply is not great. And so that's just really wrecked our hormones. And so everyone's different. So what I've learned most is everyone's different, and you can't just go, there's no cookie cutter. There's no cookie cutter. You really got to know how to really practice medicine.
So this is a practice. How long have you been doing this kind of therapy?
I've been doing this for a few years, 2 years now, but primary care for over a decade before that. So that primary care helped me too with all this stuff. And so, I could talk more about what testosterone and estrogen do, what progesterone does, but it's just so miraculous how much better they feel. So testosterone, we talked about, makes proteins, right? So you're increasing protein synthesis. So what's the end result? Well, you just age much more gracefully. You're able to repair and regenerate that tissue over time so much better. Had a patient this morning who's 84. She's dancing with her boyfriend 3 days a week. She flies in from Arizona to see me here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And she's just the sweetest can be, happy as can be. Skin looks great, super happy. That's testosterone for a woman, right? You always hear testosterone, women need testosterone. You make testosterone first. That breaks down into the estrogen that they get. So the estrogen has lots of functions too. Helps with bone density, helps decrease dementia by 33%, helps bone flexibility. It's one of the only things on the planet that also helps bone density and bone plasticity, which is very important. So
why is that important? Why is bone flexibility important?
So, there are synthetic drugs that can increase your bone density, but it may not be flexible enough. And so you still fall. If you fall, it shatters on some of the synthetic drugs. It'll shatter because it's not flexible. When your bone is flexible, you have a fall or a spill, it flexes and it's less likely to break. And so that's estrogen. That's what estrogen does. So estradiol's main function physiologically is it vasodilates. It takes blood vessels and makes them big and wide, right? And so if you have a big, wide blood vessel, you increase blood flow to the brain, right? Back to your own heart to pump more blood. Downstairs, things work better because you get that more blood flow. Hair, skin, and nail quality gets better because your estrogen keeps your blood vessels open and wide. But that decreases blood pressure. When you decrease your blood pressure, you decrease your heart attack and stroke risk. And that's why women have much less heart attacks and strokes than men do until menopause. And then after menopause, they're not making that estrogen anymore. So their blood vessels are more constricted. So we like estrogen to be different levels for men too. We like men's levels to be between 30 and 60. And so we monitor all that for men too. But that's why estrogen is important.
I'm just starting a whole lot in a short amount of time here. The third one is it's not progesterone. Is that how you say it?
Progesterone.
Progesterone.
Yeah, progesterone.
What's that do?
So progesterone for women,
okay,
in their second phase, the luteal phase, what it does is it vascularizes the endometrium and the uterus so they stop bleeding. In the follicular phase, they'll make their testosterone, estrogen. They get that protein synthesis, the vasodilation gets more blood flow to the uterus, and they'll bleed. Progesterone is then released. It vascularizes that, so it stops the bleeding, but it also binds to what's called GABA receptors in the brain that helps you sleep. GABA receptors help you relax. So the GABA receptor, when it's innervated with whole progesterone, it helps you sleep and it helps you relax. So anxiety, insomnia, and a lot of those things are fixed with progesterone. That's what progesterone does.
Okay, so help me out here, because a lot of times when I got buddies of mine who are looking at doing TRT or HRT.
Yeah.
I have female friends who and women who are older than me, suffering, or I don't know if suffering is the right word, but they're not loving life is what I'm trying to say.
Right. They're not optimal.
Okay, thank you. Science fact, not optimal. But they're doing this, and they go to see their primary care physician. And for a lot of them, they're just prescribed some kind of pill.
Right.
But it seems like that, Optimal Bio and, your organization that you're in really looks at the whole person and spends a lot of time understanding exactly what they need. So my question is, if you all kind of have a head start on this, why isn't this more widespread as a treatment protocol than just, for lack of a better term, pill subscribing?
Unfortunately, Travis, it's just education. A lot of the providers and MDs, and, PAs, and nurse practitioners are out there practicing traditional medicine. They're still getting this old feedback that hormone replacement therapy causes cancer, so they're less reluctant to try to do that kind of stuff. And so, hormone replacement therapy did cause breast cancer. It was synthetic progestin, but they're still prescribing it, so it just doesn't make any sense. So it's really just a lack of education. I think that they're so busy seeing so many patients every day that they're not able to do the research. We are a research entity. All we do is research. We research all the time, and we're always looking for the cutting edge stuff on what to do. But essentially, we do three main things. We look at your vitamin D, we look at your sex hormones, and we look at your thyroid. And what we try to do is replace what you're lacking, so that you live optimally, not live quote unquote normally. The quote unquote normal population in the United States is not healthy. Look around, right? So vitamin D levels, if we can get your vitamin D level over 65 and keep it chronically over 65, you decrease all-cause cancer. All-cause cancer. Just vitamin D.
If I remember correctly, vitamin D is related to the sun. How
Correct.
much sunlight? So look, I live in New England where, it's dark
Yeah.
6 months out of the year. You wake up, it's dark, you go to bed, it's dark. So I'm probably not getting enough vitamin D.
Yeah.
So how could I augment my vitamin D level?
So we recommend a vitamin D3, which is more potent than D2. There's D2 and D3. We won't get into the specifics of that, but vitamin D3 plus K2. K2 helps it absorb. Vitamin D3 is a fat soluble vitamin, so you need to take it with food, right? And it's a little bit harder to absorb. And so the K2 helps it absorb. It also helps it to not accumulate too high. So vitamin D can accumulate to be too high, but if you take it with K2, it regulates it perfectly. So we recommend for most people vitamin D3 plus K2, about 10,000 international units a day with food. And that's where we start, and then we titrate it from there.
I'm gonna try it. I have to be deficient living where I live. It's not like I was stationed out in Arizona, so sunlight was no problem, 20 years ago, but I can't be like optimal vitamin D wise. Okay.
Well, it's to know unless you have it checked. So have it checked and then have it scrutinized, and then you can take your vitamin D3 and get it up there. But decreasing all-cause cancer, right? Like there's only so many things in medicine that actually move the needle, right? What actually moves the needle, right? Vitamin D decreases cancer. Hormones increase protein synthesis, give you more blood flow, and then help your brain health, right? Your bone health, your brain health, your heart health, everything. And then we also do your thyroid too. We scrutinize your thyroid much more thoroughly. Make sure you don't have what's called Hashimoto's, which is a mild autoimmune disorder that can attack your thyroid and slow it down. But your thyroid is what's responsible for stimulating the mitochondria of every single cell in your body. The mitochondria, if you remember from 8th grade science or whatever, is the power pump of the cell.
Right.
So
right.
we optimize your power pump, really. So all we do is just give you what you need and optimize you, so you're healthy for the longevity of your life.
Let's go back here and help me just in layman's terms explain what the hormones are actually doing. Because when I think hormones, I think of, some computer program in my body that's telling my body what to do and when. And I'm not sure that's right, but that's just how I look at it. Remind us again what hormones are and how critical they are to the body's function.
Well, like I said, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone have different functions. Testosterone increases the protein synthesis, the making of proteins in your body. And so when you're able to optimize that protein synthesis, you're able to repair and regenerate every part of your body. So you just age much more gracefully. Okay, so that's the importance of testosterone. Estradiol increases the diameter of your blood vessels all throughout your body. So you get more blood flow. If you've got all this protein synthesis going on, it's got to get there through where? Your blood, right?
Right.
So you get the combination of the testosterone and the estrogen giving you the proteins and the blood flow. Remember, blood flow also takes in oxygen to every single cell, gets rid of the CO2, gets rid of the bad stuff or the waste products of the cells. And so that's why those are so important to work together. And then progesterone for women helps with sleep, reduces anxiety, and keeps their brain health much better than not having it when they're depleted.
It goes without saying that men and women are different, but listening to you, talk about this, it just seems to underscore that women's bodies are more complex than the male body in many ways.
Much more complex. Yeah, much more complex. So their monthly cycle is a very complex process. And so what we do is we just mimic that, get them optimized so that they get all the benefits of each individual hormone, and then balance it too. So we got to keep them balanced. For men, it's pretty easy. For men, testosterone, it still breaks down into estrogen and gives us that kind of stuff. But it's pretty easy for us. We're very blessed not to have to worry about all those other things. But that's what we do. We do that all the time. About 80% of my patients here in Charlotte, North Carolina are women.
So talk to me about Optimal Bio, this organization, this company that you're with that provides this kind of care. What got you into working with them, and how are they different than, say, your typical, no disrespect intended, the typical primary care center that you go and receive care at?
Yeah, so Optimal Bio was founded by Dr. Gregory Brandon out of Cary, North Carolina. He was a clinical OBGYN surgeon for decades. And so he was managing women post hysterectomy, where we take out some of the organs that are responsible for making the hormones. And so, way back in the day, he was doing hormone replacement therapy with them. And then he would see kind of the side effect profile that he was seeing, and he didn't like that. So that sparked him. He's a very smart guy, to do a whole bunch of research and find out, well, there's got to be a better way to replace the hormones that these women are lacking, right? And so that's how he started looking into bioidentical hormone replacement therapy with pellets. And so that's how we got founded. And, fast forward, 20 years, and we have 7 clinics all throughout the Southeast. And so he's bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is what, keeps everyone safe, away from those cancers, away from those side effects. And so, that's how we got founded, and that's why we do what we do here. We try to do everything from a holistic, natural approach.
Are you looking to expand more in the United States or in the Eastern Seaboard, or what's the next, objective for, Optimal Bio?
Yeah, right now we're always looking to grow. We're looking at Texas, and we're looking at Florida. That's in the near future. After that, kind of the sky's the limit. But essentially what we're just trying to do is educate everyone on why this is important. Why do you need this? And try to give them, all we do is give you the research. Here's the clinical data on this. Go read it for yourself. Dr. Brandon wrote a book, and it's called The Hormone Handbook. And so all the information is in there that you can research, and everything that's in there has all the research papers and stuff that you can go back and look at.
So I get my health care through the VA,
Yep.
for a lot of obvious reasons. But if I talk to my primary care about this, getting care at a facility like yours might be problematic. How could a veteran interface with, Optimal Bio to either get assessed or get care?
Yeah, you just look us up, optimalbio.com, and there's 7 of us, throughout the Southeast. And so, if you did go to the VA and they did check your hormone levels and they did say, hey, you know what, you are pretty low, what would be the treatment option, right? It would be a synthetic testosterone cypionate injection that you have to do once every 2 weeks or once a month or once a week, whatever they dictate. But there again, that molecule is not what your body makes. It's testosterone cypionate. And so you are at risk for clots and other problems and other side effects and other symptoms that you don't want. And so just, look us up, come check us out, and we can educate you on what we do. So essentially, if you come in and do a consultation with us, we sit down and take a whole 30 minutes with you. When's the last time your primary care doctor took 30 minutes?
It's funny you mentioned that, John. I mean, this is, again, I get great care at the VA. I do.
Good.
We could talk about that at another
Great.
time, but the average length of time I see my primary care, and I've been going for like the last 5 years, has been 7 minutes and 28 seconds. I timed it.
Wow, you timed it. Did the data points.
Hey, trust in God, all others bring data. That's how I am. So I get it. He is very busy. He has to get his patient counts in every day. I understand that. But in the vernacular, when I take my car to get a checkup, my car gets more attention than I do. So it's hard to understand how optimal bio would be different. But you're saying you spend 30 minutes with that patient after you collect the data. And what are you going over when you're talking with them?
I do all the science with them. I tell them everything that we talked about today. I tell them, hey, this is what your brain does. This is what testosterone does. This is how you produce it. This is why it's important. This is what estrogen, progesterone does. This is what vitamin D does. You just get your vitamin D level over 65 and I never see you again. I know I've decreased your cancer risk by 200%, right? Or 300%. And then go through their thyroid with them, explaining the science to the patient. That's why we want to spend more time with them. The more you know about your body, the better, right? And so it's just so important that we do that. And that's what I love about working for Optimal Bio is they give me the capability to sit down and talk to my patients that long. And no offense to the big box companies I worked for before, but essentially, you're just stacked with tons of patients in those traditional entities. You just don't have the time. You just get backed up. You just don't have the time. And so here we really focus on each and every patient. And I love that.
So
it's such a blessing.
So if I'm a veteran and I get VA care, would the VA cover treatment through you all? I mean, how's that work, or does it not?
Yeah, no, we don't. Insurance usually doesn't cover this. Now you can use a flex spending account or a health spending account if you have that we can use that. But traditional insurance, it doesn't cover it, unfortunately.
Unfortunate, but you can manage this through a payment structure.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm not optimal, I'm not living the kind of life I want. Well, let's just put it in terms that I understand. I compete in weightlifting. And the thing is, I can tell you for a fact, I don't recover the way I did when I was, 40, 30, or 20. I mean, that's the problem. Doing the workouts is not a problem for me. It's like, oh my God, if I got hit by a truck the next day, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So, I would love to be in a situation where I could feel like I was 30 again. That would be fantastic. And it sounds like that you have that available to people to do, and they can live a better life. And so as we kind of wind this down, a couple of questions.
Sure.
What's next for Optimal Bio and the kind of therapy you do? Is it more research, or is it just making your treatment protocol more efficient? What do you think the future is for you all?
The future for us is just getting it out there and educating the United States population about this exists. This has been going on since the 1930s. Pellets have been used since the 1930s. It's not new. It's not new. It's been going on for a long time, right? And it's the most safe way to do it. It's just not, I don't want to get into any politics at all, but it's just not advocated for like some other things were. And so we just want to get the word out there to everyone. If you're having these symptoms, just get in contact with us. Let's sit down and talk. Let's check your labs and see where you're at. That's the next step for us, is just getting the word out there to everyone. We want everyone to know more about their body.
For you personally, as a practitioner, and it's called practice for a reason, right? You're always working on your skills. It's kind of like the Marine Corps, like you're always going to work on your drill, your rifle skills, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Your leadership skills. What's next for you as a practitioner in your pursuit of medical excellence, John?
Just knowing that everyone is completely different and understanding that, and just sharpening the spear. Every time you see a different patient, you have a little bit of a different nuance that happens. Well, maybe this patient likes this a little bit more and likes this a little bit less. And so the more patients you see and the more you practice, the longer you practice, the better you get at that. And so personally for me, that's what I'm trying to do, is just get better and better at it for each individual patient that I see.
So this is the coolest part about doing Oscar Mike Radio is there's so many people who served different branches, different things, officer, enlisted, whatever. And then they get out and do something that people don't think, hey, I was a grunt, I was a machine gunner, I was a mortarman, I was, in my case, a hawk missile systems operator. And then they go on to do these amazing things. How Marine-like is it that you were that machine gunner, you were that weapons company, specialist, and now you're providing healthcare at this level? You ever look back and say, you know what, I am living that Marine Corps recruiting dream?
Yeah, well, it's not everyone gets to experience the yellow footprints, right?
Right.
And get that extra marksmanship and stuff like that. But essentially, it's honor, courage, and commitment, right? Honor, courage, and commitment. I have the honor to do what I know what's right for my patients. The first rule of medicine is do no harm. Done right there. If what I did any harm, I wouldn't do it, right? And so that's the first rule of medicine: honor, courage to learn more, courage to do the research, courage to get my acting. Okay, I've worked a 12-hour shift today, but still I need to look at the data points on this, right? And the commitment to believe in what I do, because I believe in it. I'm fully committed in what we do, because all we do is help you get better. We help you age more gracefully, and we enrich every single cell of your body. So I'm just so blessed to be here, man. I couldn't ask for a better place to be.
Well, it's just interesting, dichotomy, if you will. You one part of your life was about, meeting the enemy, locating close with all that good stuff. And now you pivot to where you're using the same mindset to help someone live better. It's just a really interesting, person to get to talk to. And you, Mr. Moody, and I really appreciate your time. How can people connect with Optimal Bio and the kind of therapy you do?
So, just search us up, optimalbio.com. If you're in the Southeast, we're around. And then a patient coordinator will talk to you about what we do and why we do it, and schedule an appointment to talk to a provider, Dr. Brennan. And then we'll schedule for that 30-minute consultation, and we'll sit down and talk to you about, okay, what's your problem? Are you fatigued? Or are you having a hard time with your workouts? My workouts are this and that, but now I'm having to wait 3 days before I can hit legs again because I'm just wiped out, right? And so we talk about that with each individual patient. So for you, for example, I'm so sore I can't go, but every so often, well, what does testosterone do? So by the end of our 30-minute consult, I want you to be able to tell me back, why is it important for you? Well, what does testosterone do? It increases protein synthesis. What does that do? Repair and regenerate the muscle tissue faster, right? So you can go back at it 48 hours later versus 72, right? And then you can increase and meet your goals. But essentially, we know what we're doing is going to make you healthier until you're 70, 80, 90. That's what we want.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll have the links to Optimal Bio in the Oscar Mike Radio show post. This is, we're talking with Johnny Moody about, I'm going to read this, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which is science fact, not science fiction like I thought. I just love this because so many times you get in this rut of how you feel and how you're living. And you might take some pills, you might not do anything, but you get in this rut and you don't think there's a way out. And it seems like from learning about what you do and talking to you now, there's a way where you can live an optimized life.
We want to help you. We want to help you be optimal. That's our only goal. We want to optimize you and help you meet all your goals and make you healthy forever. And so I'm so blessed to be able to do that, Travis.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from Mr. Moody himself. You've seen the story where he started out at one point in his life in the Marine Corps, got out, rebooted his life, got on a different path, and now is able to provide this way to live. I'll have the link in the Oscar Mike Radio show post. You don't have to live this way if you don't want to. And, Johnny, I want to thank you for coming on and talking with us.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Hey, to St. Oscar Mike Radio, we are mission flight. Johnny Moody is Oscar Mike. Thank you again, and God bless.
Right.
Hoorah. Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.